Now we apply that framework to America's central, defining civil rights story, race, and the textbook doesn't soften it. Slavery is called America's original sin, the foundational contradiction between the Republic's ideals and its practice, the narrative slaveholders constructed to justify it, the fabrication of black inferiority, created a system of racial hierarchy that persisted long after slavery was abolished and that still shapes American institutions today. Let me trace the legal arc. It begins at rock bottom with Dred Scott v. Sanford in 1857, where the Supreme Court held that African Americans, enslaved or free, were not citizens and had no rights that the white man was bound to respect. A catastrophic moral failure that helped precipitate the Civil War. The war produced the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, abolishing slavery, guaranteeing citizenship and equal protection, and prohibiting racial discrimination in voting. But the promise of Reconstruction was quickly betrayed. When federal troops withdrew from the South in 1877, white supremacist governments reasserted control through black codes, then Jim Crow laws, legally enforced segregation, disenfranchisement, debt peonage, and the terror of lynching. The Supreme Court ratified this system in Plessy v. Ferguson in 1896, inventing the separate but equal doctrine. Separate was never equal. Black schools were systematically underfunded, black hospitals understaffed, but Plessy gave constitutional cover to racial apartheid for the next 6 decades. The campaign to dismantle it was led through the courts by the NAACP Legal Defense Fund and its architect, Thurgood Marshall. Their patient litigation strategy culminated in Brown v. Board of Education in 1954, where a unanimous court under Chief Justice Earl Warren held that segregated public schools are inherently unequal, overruling Plessy. It's the most important civil rights decision in the court's history, but its implementation was bitterly resisted. The follow-up order to desegregate, with all deliberate speed, was read by hostile districts as license for indefinite delay. And that's the crucial lesson. The legal victory in Brown did not by itself dismantle Jim Crow. That required the mass direct action of the civil rights movement, the Montgomery bus boycott, the Greensboro sit-ins, the Freedom Rides, the Birmingham campaign where fire hoses and attack dogs shocked the national conscience, and the 1963 March on Washington and King's I Have a Dream speech. That pressure produced the 2 greatest civil rights statutes in American history, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, banning discrimination in accommodations, funding, and employment, and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which required jurisdictions with histories of discrimination to get federal preclearance before changing voting laws. Together they dismantled de jure segregation, though they could not erase the de facto inequalities left by centuries of exclusion.